Marco's Journey to Serenity. Once upon a time, in a small village surrounded by mountains, lived a 24-year-old young man named Marco. Marco was very restless. His mind was always full of thoughts. All day long, different ideas would come and go, and these thoughts made him feel uneasy and tired. He constantly felt sad about his past and worried a great deal about the future. Because of these thoughts, his mind was like a storm. He couldn't find peace, he didn't sleep well, and he had even forgotten how to smile. One day, Marco heard about a distant village in the hills. People said a wise old man, Elder Kai, lived there. This man was a renowned psychologist in the city. He had helped many people in his life and taught them how to find peace in their minds. Now he was old. He had left the noisy city life and started living in a quiet village close to nature. Sometimes he would offer advice to visitors. Marco became curious and filled with hope. He decided that he must go and meet this old man. He thought, perhaps this wise man can help me find peace. After many days of a long and tiring journey, Marco arrived at the village in the hills. When he arrived, he saw a small house covered in greenery. On the porch of the house, Elder Kai was sitting peacefully. His eyes were closed, and he looked very serene. Marco approached him and said softly, "Elder Kai, my mind is very troubled. I cannot stop thinking. I want peace in my heart. Can you help me?" Elder Kai slowly opened his eyes and smiled gently. He said, "So, you are looking for peace? Come with me then. I will give you a small task." He took Marco to his small courtyard. Then he filled a glass with water to the brim. The glass was so full that any slight tremor could cause the water to spill. He handed the glass to Marco and said, "Walk from here to the edge of the village and then return. But remember, you must not spill a single drop of water." Marco looked at him in astonishment, but he wanted to do his best, so he accepted the challenge. He held the glass carefully and began to walk. The path was narrow and bustling. Some people were walking, some were running. Shopkeepers were calling out to customers, and dogs were barking. But Marco did not look around. His eyes remained focused only on the glass. He walked slowly and cautiously, step by step. People looked at him in surprise, but no one bothered him. They knew he was learning something important. Finally, Marco returned to Elder Kai and said, "Elder Kai, I did it. I didn't spill a single drop of water." Elder Kai nodded and smiled. Then he asked him, "That's good, but tell me, did you see the children playing by the roadside? Did you hear the dogs barking?" Marco looked surprised and said, "No, I didn't see or hear anything. I was only focused on the glass." Elder Kai smiled again and said gently, "That is the secret. Something that was always inside you, but you didn't know it. When your mind stays in the present moment, there is no room for fear, no confusion, and no extra thoughts. You were only thinking about the water in the glass. At that time, your mind became completely calm. You weren't sad about the past. You weren't afraid of the future." Slowly, Marco began to understand. This was the peace he had been searching for. Peace is not something we find externally. Peace already exists within us when we live in the present moment. Marco bowed and said softly, "Elder Kai, now I understand. If I want to calm my mind, I must keep it in this moment. That is when true peace comes." Elder Kai smiled again. The sun was setting, and the last light touched the ground. Birds were returning to their nests. Marco began his journey back home, but he was not the same anxious young man. He had changed. He was calm from within because he now knew how to quiet the mind.